Apple's bigger product trajectory for the next 5 years? Let's talk about that. WWDC was just announced, and Apple is going to introduce things that were actually delayed a year from last year because Apple decided to hold back everything and focus on AI to play catch up, even though Apple already dropped the ball on their Apple Intelligence. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. But WWDC, this is the real WWDC we were supposed to get last year. And even though we're a year late, this is Apple's real 5-year game plan coming with this announcement next month. Now, I'm calling it a 5-year plan because we're in 2025 and I have a prediction that Tim Cook will not be around by or at 2030. So we're laying the final groundworks to Tim Cook's legacy at Apple, and it's going to be starting with this. Now, if you know me, you know that I love a good quadrant. I mean, Steve Jobs famously used one at one of his keynotes talking about the pro side to the consumer side to what's portable to what's considered a desktop. And the purpose of that was to distract from all the other clutter and stuff that they had going on at Apple and saying, we're only going to focus on these 4 things. Well, likewise, and not so much a quadrant, I would like to use this same intense focus and introduce my own 4 products going from most portable to least portable. These are the products with their prospective OSs that we currently have today. Now, I'm not going to include Vision OS right now because it's such a niche product and so many people don't have that. It shouldn't be on this graph today. No different than I'm not going to include tvOS because it's also a niche thing and it has no purpose to the greater picture here. But no surprise, the most portable thing that we have with an OS is an Apple Watch, which makes sense. It's the best-selling watch and smartwatch that we have out there. And then Apple's bread and butter, we have the iPhone with iOS. Now on the right side of this graph, we have iPad and Mac, the 2 more desktop productive devices. Now my image is showing a MacBook, but the reason why it's the least portable is because it could be a Mac Studio, a Mac Mini, a Mac Pro, even though I doubt that. My point still remains, these are the 4 product categories that are out there in the world in full force that are being used. Now follow me here, let's take that graph and let's put it to the side for now. We will come back to that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about what we do know what's coming to WWDC this year. There's been much rumors, leaks, and speculations that the new iOS design is going to be a redesign to look more like Vision OS. The icons are going to look more rounder, and we're moving away from the more squared off design, but not just the icons themselves, the UI is going to look more glassier. This is obviously inspired by what we have already in Vision OS. As someone who did use the Vision Pro last year, I can say confidently that I like this new design. I was enjoying myself seeing it have that more translucent element involved when I was having the headset on and it matching my surroundings in my house or wherever I was at. It has those remnants of iOS 7 that had the more translucent look as well, but now it looks less flat and we have not skeuomorphism, so to say, but it has this new hybrid of in-between that's happening here. But also, it looks like the iPhone is going to borrow a feature from the iPad? What? There are strong rumors happening that iPhones with a USB-C port will now be able to do Stage Manager as well when plugged into a display. Kind of like the old DeX design that was happening with Samsung so long ago. As someone who uses Stage Manager on my iPad, I like this feature a lot. I use it all the time, not just on my native iPad screen, but also when I plug it into my studio display. Now, speaking of iPad, it's looking like iPadOS is going to start getting even more macOS features. Man, we've been hearing that one for a long time, but if it's true that we're going to get maybe a menu bar at the top or maybe even multiple audio things playing simultaneously, that is really bridging that gap even more from Mac and iPad to making it a better 2-in-1 device. Going back to the Stage Manager thing real quick, I like using Stage Manager and I hear they're going to make it even more optimized on the iPad as they've done over the last couple years, where you can have almost an infinite amount of wiggle room to adjust the windows of the apps or where you want to move it on the screen. So if we can have that plus a menu bar plus multiple audio playing at once, plus who knows what else, then the iPad becomes so much more attractive of a deal for people who want to get into that side of computing. And lastly, this isn't WWDC related, but it is part of Apple's bigger picture for the next 5 years related, which is why I'm including it here. But it's also heavily rumored, and I believe these rumors, that we are going to be getting a new folding iPhone, which should be coming out next year. All this groundwork is being laid today, so that way it's going to carry us into 2030. So why? Why is this the approach that Apple is doing? And what's the connecting thread between a folding iPhone, Stage Manager for iOS, macOS-like UI and features for the iPads, finally, and a Vision OS-like design for iOS? Because it's to make the iPad the main computing device over a Mac again, just like it was planned when the iPad was initially introduced. And a folding iPhone means a 2-in-1 device, replacing the iPad in the lineup because now you'll have a 4:3 aspect ratio like the iPad, and when you plug it into a display monitor, now you're gonna get Stage Manager, all things which are currently on the iPad. And Macs become more legacy as they are already powerhouse devices for professionals and way overkill for most people. There's a reason why the MacBook Air is the best-selling MacBook out of all of them. It's already more than enough for most people. And everything is going to lean more into the spatial computing that Apple believes in, which is why they're going to adopt this new Vision OS-like looking design. Vision Pro, or Vision OS depending, is Apple's vision. I'm sorry. It's Apple's vision for the next era of computing. First, we had desktop computing. I was around for that. Then we had mobile computing today. And now we're going to be going into spatial computing, what I used to call immersive computing. That means we're also going to get more devices that lean into the spatial computing, and that's where I believe the Apple glasses, they're going to fall into that sector. So the new quadrant, I believe for the masses, is going to look something a little bit more like this, where we make room for new devices that will eventually be in the hands of millions. The iPad's going to be more like a Mac, the iPhone's going to be more like an iPad, Vision OS will hopefully be the new mainstream iOS. At least that's what Apple would like to see. I don't actually think that's what's going to happen, but we're looking at it from the best perspective for Apple right now. Then we'll get these new smart Apple glasses, and instead of an OS, I'm just throwing it out there because I'm having fun with this now, I would like to see it be dubbed something like Siri AI, since it's going to be controlled through AI, most likely. And since all these devices are going to be pretty much portable, it's no longer going to go from most portable to least portable, but it's going to go, in my opinion, from most popular to least popular. That looks like the right lineup for me. And now we will have a new way of interacting with all these new devices and older devices, and Apple will set the stage for the next 10 to 20 years, which coincidentally will be when Tim Cook retires and we will have a new CEO, maybe John Ternus, and the overall next era of Apple will begin starting with this type of new lineup. At least that's what I think Apple is trying to do. Do you agree with me? Or am I just too far-fetched out there? Do you have a different idea? Let me know. I would love to hear all your thoughts and comments down in the description. Keep me on my toes since this is all speculative anyway. And let's see how close we are to all of this come next month when we have WWDC and we see the groundworks for the next 5 years. Because this is what I actually do believe Apple wants to make happen. But will it? I don't know. You let me know. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.